Welcome back to another video on Gearsaw Studios, and today I'm going to be covering 25w31a with shelves, aka vertical slabs but actually good, the copper golem and its variants, and now oxidizing lightning rods. Additionally, for the Java version of these, we actually have a new debug screen, which you can see right here, significantly less cluttered and a lot easier to read for the average player. So without further ado, let's investigate what all this is about. For those who are not caught up with this current snapshot cycle, this is drop 3 set to release in fall, and it adds the copper golem. You can see right here, it's a little guy, it's from the mob vote, and his purpose is actually dramatically changed. Unlike the projected copper button slash randomizer whatever, instead he is an item sorter. He will bring things from copper chests to normal chests. So hypothetically, if I were to grab myself some of these and put them together, you can see they do not connect. Oh look, a pillager outpost burning down naturally. But anyways, if you're interested in what they do, here, let's put some oak planks in one chest. And then let's put some in this chest, and then we're gonna put a few in this one. And you can see they're gonna pick up some items. And then they bring it to the normal chest. So now they are an item sorter. They can only hold 16 items at a time, and of course, that also means only 4 eggs. I don't think they can transfer non-stackables as well. But still, it's an interesting thing where you can put all your junk into the copper chests and then keep all your normal chests at an okay Y level, and then they'll handle everything for you. Essentially, he's a little helpful automatic sorting system. Nowhere near as complex as the ones done with redstone, but still super useful nonetheless. Over time, he will oxidize, and you can even make him oxidize like this. As you can see, he's a little bit rusty, he has different noises, and of course the chests will also oxidize as well. But if he stays too long in this state, then he will turn into a statue. And then finally, they are in fact just normal copper things. So if we get some bee-related items, so honeycomb, not beeswax, I keep thinking that, we can wax them and we can scrape them. So that way they don't have to stay old and rusty forever. But of course, if they wait too long in the final stage, then they will turn into a statue. With these little statues, by the way, the pillager outpost is still burning down. We can see they are just statues now. And they have different oxidation states, but supposedly they petrify over time. So how did we get these 3? Well, we can actually scrape these. So like this, you can see, we can take it off, turn it back to normal, and eventually, we can do it one more time to turn them back into a mob. They will retain their name, which means you can use them for some sort of gacha system, where you give someone a copper golem that was name tagged at some point, and then when they scrape it off, they'll find its true name. So essentially you can do collectibles with these. Very interesting concept. And then, of course, if you don't want them to come back, you can also just wax them. Notably, there's a little bit of conflicting stuff. You can actually pose them. So like this, you can see they can do all sorts of different poses. And, well, yeah, they also emit redstone signals off of these. So if I get my comparator and my redstone dust, then you can see we have a redstone signal. And then each pose will do a different one, and look, it goes up to 4 before resetting back to 1. So, hooray, we basically have a number code block right here. Instead of 2 unique states, it has 4. Right here, you can see that lightning rods can now oxidize. There's not anything unique about this. However, there's a little bit of new stuff. Right here, we have copper horse armor. This is with no saddle equipped. If we get a saddle, then we can put it on, and you can see hides a bit of the armor. But still, this is pretty much just what you would expect. And for its horse armor value, we can see right here 3 for leather, 4 for copper, 5 for iron, 7 for gold, and 11 plus 2 for the diamond. So you can see it's not super good, but it's decent. You can collect it. Along with that, you might notice the copper tools in my hotbar. And this is a unique thing. You can see how it is literally just copper armor. There's a rendering error on the pants though. Notice they don't go high enough. But anyways, this is pretty much a weird stepping stool between stone and iron. If you don't have enough for iron, say you want to use hoppers and such, you can just use copper. It's slightly weaker, and it has lower enchantability, but it's higher than diamond's enchantability. Essentially, you can get this early game, and it's very easy to mass distribute in case something goes wrong. Now, for our final major change, we also have the removal of spawn chunks, and that's also a major change, but there's one that will affect a lot of players. Notice my debug screen seems kind of small. I mean, you can still see my PC specs, I'm flexing on you or something, whatever the kids say these days. But now, we also have this. F3 plus F5 can give us some unique things here, where that way we can actually have some of the things and other things that we don't care about, we don't. Like this. Yeah, some of these I don't even know what they are, but let's say we want to always see FPS. Right there, always FPS. We can see the entity spawn counts right there. That's nice. We can see a lot of these things, which is super cool. And we can also always display the game version. Anyways, yeah, this is what it is. I'm going to select these and I can configure my screen to be how I want it to be. And then finally, we can look at it in game to see what's the deal. With my personal modifications, here's what my F3 screen looks like. And you can see even with F1, you can no longer disable it, which is interesting, but there was never a reason to really disable it because you can just toggle it with F3 anyways. But you can see here, it contains the things I want and doesn't show the things I don't want. I have my noise router so I can still understand, like, am I going towards hot or cold areas for survival mode. And then we have the biome builder, things like that, so I can locate deep darks. I have my client light, so that way I can build things like, mob proofing and generally just knowing some stuff because, I do building, that's my main thing. And then we have local difficulty for the day counter. Along with that, when I look at a block, you can see it shows the things I want. And then on the right, we have some of the more basic stuff. There's a bit of overlap, but still, it's much cleaner than it was before because it just doesn't contain all those things I don't really know about. I'm not out here using the mob selection counter to see how many axolotls are near me, if you get what I mean. But yeah, this is an amazing change. Now we can finally have our own unique debug screens without having all the clutter. Because remember, it's kind of meant to be a developer only thing, and they wanted to replace it, find other things so that way they could remove the debug screen, but ultimately, it's just not going to work that way. Although the Minecraft guidebook says so, like the personal design guidebook that Mojang uses officially, yeah, it's clear that it's not really working, so they finally incorporated it into a real mechanic so players can use it, which I'd say is an amazing change. Finally, for our last thing, we have shelves. And I could probably make my own video about this. This is probably like my favorite block in the game now. As a builder that doesn't like vertical slabs, this is the ideal implementation. And they even have a ton of technical use. But anyways, using 6 stripped logs, kind of like you do bookshelf without the books, well, we make these, and they have one for each variant. And these are the shelves. And you can see they have a unique back texture, which means we can detail our walls even more. Not to mention, we can stick items in them, like this. And you can see, they work kind of like item frames, you can take them back, and things like that. However, that seems like just a more complex item frame. And to a degree it is. However, it has some extra things. Let's power them with redstone. And then you can see, they connect. And now let's pull out a random hotbar of mine. And let's plop some things in there. It takes my whole hotbar, and then I can take it right back. It's a very quick way to sort your inventory. You can plop everything in there, and what do you know? And it's so nice seeing these on Java as a former Bedrock player. Yeah, it's just so nice using these on Java, and then you can always take that away. They only connect to 3 though, so that way you can't deposit way more than you can. But still, that has building use. You can see these. Well, we have the back texture, very useful. These are railings. These can be used for a grocery store, things like that. You could even use them like the dark ones. Here, watch this. We can use a balance beam now. You want to connect things? What do you know? Balancing beam. So yeah, I love these blocks. This is pretty much a whole drop in my eyes. Like, get out of the way, copper golems. I have something cooler. And because I'm the builder and I have to make this about building, here's how you can use copper golems as well. So here's the thing, let's look at their hitbox. And you can see, unlike Bedrock Edition, it's a bit more accurately aligned. It's not a full block. But you can also place a carpet on top of them. And what do you know? We have a sprinkler system. We can also stack them like this. And you can see, A little bit of Z fighting doesn't look very comfortable, but you could totally do it. So hooray, there's a lot of things you can do, and you can even edit their pose. What do you know, we have something else on the ground. Oh, it's misaligned, so hooray, now we basically have armor stands. And then we can change his pose just a little bit, piece by piece. So I'd say this is an amazing change. Either way, it's the end of today's video. If you enjoyed this video, remember, please like and subscribe. We just hit 2.2 thousand, which I'd say is a pretty substantial milestone. I was hoping to get a little bit more this summer, but still, that's a pretty nice improvement. Either way, enjoy the rest of your day. Gearsaw out.